All right, Alex, are you able to kick us off?
Yeah, I put the agenda in the chat, and I'll do it again here. Um, so I do have one add-on that, if time allowing, I wanted to share, which is a quick introduction to a small digester system I visited here in Vermont from a longtime practitioner. And I can just do that in like 5 minutes at the end if we have time for it. Anything else on needed to amend, add, suggest? Okay, let's get it going here. So how about some introductions and very brief updates or requests? I think we did a little of that already, but let's go around in reversed alphabetical order by last name, which means, oops, I don't know Melanie's last name, but it's certainly not Sean first. Sean's also having to listen in because he's en route. So how about we just go around in introductions? Melanie, can you start us off, and then Embray? Going once, going twice. Melanie, we'll come back to you. We'll text you. Embray, would you like to?
Sure. It feels so weird introducing myself to Margaret. Embry Bronstead, wastewater engineer by training, but mostly just a project manager now. Waste to resource evangelist. Based out of Pacific Northwest, United States.
Well, she called on you, Margaret, so I think I'll ask you to go next, and then Nate, and then Ann.
Sure. I'm Margaret McCauley. I'm with the United States Environmental Protection Agency's Pacific Northwest Office, which is covering Alaska, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. And I'm in the water division. We have tribal trust responsibility to Alaska Native villages, and we have ongoing sanitation needs that we don't currently really have good technology for. So always looking for folks who can help us figure out opportunities to make those problems better. Nate?
Nate Janiga. I work with Corollo Engineers as a consulting engineer out of the Seattle, Washington office. Although I am doing projects all over the USA, a lot of them right now are writing preliminary engineering reports for the EPA and helping small communities apply for funding to fix their drinking water, wastewater. My focus is wastewater and water reclamation. What was that one? Waste to resource evangelist. That's excellent. Yeah. I'm gonna steal that. And yeah, I've also been involved with the Mount Everest Biogas Project, which is seeking to use biogas for sanitation of climbers' waste coming off of Mount Everest in Nepal. However, that has been wildly stalled for years, but allowed me to come be a member of this consortium. So, yep. And yeah, Seattle, Washington, USA.
How about Ann? And then Sean, if he can, or Melanie. Oh, sorry, Ann Corrigan, and then Ann Garland. How about that?
And Annie Corrigan. I am at National Movie Lab at the Fairbanks office in Alaska, and I wish I had all the touchy guidelines that I was heard here. My training is actually in environmental health and spatial analysis, and now I work in a lot of type stuff for Alaskan communities. I am got involved with this group through Margaret in a project to launch a pilot experiment on anaerobic digestion as a solution for rural Alaska human waste management and sanitation. So I'll be sharing some very small, try to get a few interesting points in on that. Oh, sorry. I have trouble with my headset. Hopefully some of that got through.
That's a little better.
Okay. Interesting. Anyway, hopefully that covered it, and I'll be talking more later so I can explain again. Bye.
Okay, well, I was going to say at the end, but Ann, why don't you go ahead? I'm not sure Sean is available. Or
Okay.
Melanie.
Hi, I'm up in Utqiagvik, Alaska, doing research on all hazard science in partnership with risk and emergency management. Well, I'm not doing direct waste research. We are looking at harmful algal blooms in the nearshore and offshore up here, and they do have an interesting sewage system up here where they let the waste out once or twice a year from their lagoons. They do a waste management with like 3 different water bodies, 3 lagoons, near shore lagoons. And of course, anything that's going into the water that's related to nutrients, it's going to affect any kind of toxic species that are out there. So I can talk more if you want about our research offshore, where they have studied, because they have found a huge deposit offshore of cisbed, a huge amount. Luckily, it's still too cold up here for massive blooms, but it's not going to be a pretty picture if it gets warmer, especially since it's subsistence living up here. Thanks.
What town or region is this, please? And what part of Alaska?
Utqiagvik, Alaska, or formerly Barrow.
Oh,
I don't live here. I come up here every summer and do research. I have like 3 or 4 community-based monitoring projects up here for all hazards, different hazards. I live in Virginia in Tidewater. And of course, we have lots of stormwater management issues in that part of the world with waste going into the water system.
thanks. Okay, last call, Melanie or Sean?
Hey everyone, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah, sorry, I just had a meeting go late, but I'm Sean Arcilia. I am the Biomass Program Manager at the State of Alaska's Energy Office, the Alaska Energy Authority. And I can speak for Melanie. She sent an info request to us, trying to figure out what to do with dog waste. And I remember the last fall there was a presentation on dog waste, anaerobic digestion. So figured it'd be a great opportunity to bring her in and give her some more information because you all are much smarter than I am.
I see that compliment was greeted with silence. All right.
I was going through a list. I was like, we got at least 3 dog waste people on here.
Yeah, and I guess before I come back on mute, updates on my end is we're Trident Seafoods is working out sending frozen samples of the fish waste from Alaska over to the Golden, Colorado field office to start a composition analysis for us. So that's super exciting.
That is, I'm so excited that that partnership is taken off. Yay!
Good. Okay. What we could do, I'm not sure. I'm just going to make a note here, a question mark dog waste, but I'm not sure how much that relates to our work. But I'm just going to say if that's something that's on the radar, I just want to make a note of it for next time potentially, and we can talk about where that fits. And if Melanie or you or anyone wants to ping us with some questions, me and Embre and Margaret, or via whatever, or request, always feel free. Yeah. To get something on the agenda, for example. I'm Alex DePillis, Agency of Agriculture in Vermont, coming at this for small farms and food waste here in the Northern Tier. And learned a lot, have some stuff to share today if it's possible. And that's about it. Okay, who is going to do our NATO, non-NATO update, non-update? To NATO or not to NATO?
So I emailed Jane, but I don't I missed the last meeting. So is this just a question about where the contract, where the funding is? Is that what we're asking
You-
about?
You are currently caught up to the last meeting where I was like, what's going on with that?
Okay,
That's where we're
yeah.
at.
So I emailed Jane Fowler, or the project director, right? And she said that they are finalizing contracting. There's still some back and forth about the IP, and some. I think there's negotiations about IP terms and conditions, and that they had originally slated a start date of September like 22nd, I think, but that is likely going to get pushed back just a little bit because of this last IP thing. So it sounds like it's pretty close. There's just some last little contract negotiation stuff that's going on. So hopefully this, I mean, like this fall, like next October-ish, we should see some progress. But I know IP is always a question with universities in particular. So
Could someone with a voice, or you, Embre, just tell us very briefly what this work is? What is this scope?
yeah. So yeah. So the original scope was to leverage NREL's pilot work into funneling and honing of the best or the most optimal of NREL's barrels into a larger, fuller scale pilot that was focused more on just the one, using the best design out of our current NREL pilot and scaling it up a little bit and maybe actually using some real poop in it. I think that was still kind of a gray area in the proposal. But at the same time, so we've got Jane Fowler, who's the project director. She was kind of running it. We've got Pernilla, who was going to be doing some microbiological assessment. We've got Lily also doing some microbiological assessment. And then we've got David doing like some engineering and modeling. So it's just the next phase in pilot scale digester, both engineering, design, and microbiological monitoring and digestion process monitoring up in Fairbanks.
Sorry if this is tactless, but Anne Corrigan, are you involved in this?
She damn well is.
Well, okay, I didn't hear her name, so I just wanted to check. Thank you.
Well, so the NATO the NATO proposal, it was more administrative rather than the NATO proposal required that we had a NATO project or a NATO country project director, right? None of these, so Margaret can't do it because she's feds. Anne can't do it because she's feds. They can't be project directors. So, and I couldn't do it, like, because Brown and Caldwell, there's no fucking way that they would have let me. We just asked Jane to do it because also the university position gave her a little bit better of a leg up from a org chart kind of optics. So we asked Jane to do it, and then we had to have co-directors, at least one co-director from a NATO adjacent, I can't remember the exact term, but it's like not a NATO country, but like NATO affiliated, which was another list of countries. So we kind of assembled the project director and co-director team based on the requirements of the NATO proposal from a country standpoint. And again, because we had feds who we would have tapped originally from this group to be those people. We couldn't utilize that institutional knowledge. So one of the advantages that we listed for this group or for the proposal was that this group was sort of a technical advisory panel, and that even though we have a really strong org chart in our project directors and co-directors, that we also have this whole team of people that they can leverage to facilitate and help and bolster the project. And so the presumption was, in case you guys didn't know, the presumption is that we are all involved on this project. It is not just those 4 people who are running the show.
Gotta go. See ya. I have another meeting. Just kidding.
And that was actually one of what we thought was our strengths, right? That we had all of us. So that's the short of it.
Got it. Thank you.
Answer any more questions about it if you guys have questions.
Thanks, Henry. I wanted to, in my notes, the last time we talked with Jane, we were trying to figure out what that means in terms of what the budget looks like and how it translates, because we aren't as far along to approach, but we still are working towards the optimum design. So I was just going to say, next time for me to join again, maybe, or maybe after the IP was figured out, whenever she was time, and just I think she had said once sometime in September we'd have a kickoff where we actually said, how do we figure this out? But just so you know, that's still on the list to figure out administratively what involvement. So
yeah. And we are obligated by the grant to have a kickoff meeting, which I can only assume that we will all go to. And not just the co-directors and project directors. At which point we can discuss all of that in more detail.
Yeah. I'll just tag it for the agenda possibly next time.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Since this is already on everybody's calendars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. If we're ready, we can move to you, Ann. E.
Cool. Well, so part of the task with these updated plots was because Father was a farewell a month ago, and I hadn't had time to get into his actual code, and I'm not sure if I missing a file or if I'm doing some copy and pasting, but I've got a meeting scheduled with him upcoming to review his final report. That was the end of the month deadline, and then maybe ask him some questions immediately here. But just getting us familiar with where we have. How does that look in terms of size for the sort of thing? Can you hear me okay?
Not really. I mean, barely. Maybe the mic can get closer or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the wiring. Am I any better now?
I think so, a little bit.
Okay. I can change my headphones if it's.
That's a little better now.
Start waiting. So, we last looked at temperatures through late July, and this next slide is, so I guess for those who haven't seen it, there are 4 drums on site. The control is outside. The blue is representing the temperature of the water at the core of the water column inside the drum, and the orange in the background right now showing the temperature. And there's the next drum is the drum blanket. So this is the water inside the drum that has a blanket heater on it, powered by an island for the battery system. The essentially shows it's extremely stable. In comparison to another drum, it's a blue line that is also inside of the shell with some very minor ambient cooling to the shell. What we've come to learn now is that it's not a very tight enclosure, so that at least the minimal space heating that there is hasn't been needed. And then there's a greenhouse, in the greenhouse. So that's a passive solar heating, and you see much stronger fluctuations in hot and cold days. This is a plot we haven't seen before, and we're now going from that early to mid, and then all of this is new data up until the 18th of August, where I hope this is supposed to be the 18th of August. And I'm noting that this actually coincides, the last day of the program is coinciding with the first power system failure. For the first time, the batteries were fully drained and there was some solar. So we can see that this is being sort of built up into the feedback one. Things have fluctuated but remained. There were a few drops thus far, but once we hit late July and particularly early August, we start to see those plummets for multi-day stretches becoming much more regular. So after this power system failure, we actually have a chat call and discussed what temperature we should be shooting for. Originally, we were going fully optimal into the temperature of the blanket heater was set to the C. But I have another one that shows you the power system is performing. And we adjusted it down quite significantly so that if we continue to have, so essentially it would take less power to still remain at a low, let's say, probably temperature, but where these other drones still, so where these other things operating. I can come back to this, but I think I'll just go ahead and skip ahead to the other new plot. So this is the power system. What I do a little more detail on the power system. To orient you, the blue dotted line is now not the water columns of the drums, but the sensors near power elements themselves. So the drum blanket has the probe inside the drum blanket, so we can see that it's operating really stably at this time. This green is showing like our weather station at the building, and the orange is showing inside the shed. So you can see during the day it is holding, heat inside the shed, but it's still seeing like it was kind of consistent with India. And then the orange, that's what we just talked about. And then the red is the space heater. So that's what's hopefully adding some heat to inside of the shed. So you can see that it's turning on each day when it's been coming slowly. However, it's not making, it's not really retaining it. It has to do with the airtime size. So room to consider where to put that influence into it. And so updating that plot, we now have through August. And we see that there are these longer chunks where we were no longer getting additional orange. So we were no longer getting additional space heating inside the shell. So it's been impacted all drum, two drums inside the shell. And then we really start to see not just like daily times where maybe it's an hour or two to everything get dropped, but a full loss of any heat to drum.
So when you say first power system failure, failure sounds dramatic, but I'm guessing that it doesn't actually. I don't know. Can
The
you provide a
drama
little more
from,
context for
yeah,
the word failure and how that, like, does that mean that this is the end, or does that mean you made this adjustment
no,
to the temperature and now there's going to be some more graphs at the other side?
yes, there's gonna be another month that I'll get to use. I need to. We have someone pulling the data and was involved last week, just got caught up and so I'll update these and maybe I'll be more up in the month as soon as I get plotted. And after adjusting the temperature, we haven't had. So when I say failure, I mean like the inverter is actually tripping. Beeping from the slave, stop. You're trying to turn on the element and with no power to turn it on. So all these other days we might have relied on both the PV and battery, but this is the first time we have the inverter kept trying to pull power. And it would have continued trying to do that when we see the system. And that's when we adjusted down the temperature so it would ask for less. And fortunately, we got a sunny day after that. So the batteries kind of got charged up and we had that pushing range for resilience when there was no sun on the days.
So adjusting the
have-
temperature kind of extends the ability of the batteries to, okay.
Are you going to kill the batteries or did you damage the batteries?
I mean, they're okay. They got recharged. They are lead acid, so they have a little bit more experience with that than say lithium.
Yeah, as long as you don't leave them discharged for a long time.
So that's kind of what we're looking at for, and is how much it will take of that. And the question we're thinking about is if this translates to, like, we'll see what this looks like moving forward, but like, would any of these shocks result in the digestive? Should we start tapering? And maybe think about if we know a shoulder season's coming and a cold week is coming, we will not have enough power to supply that drum with the appropriate or at least a stable amount. And should we have started inching down what that power drop was on the day soon? So it wasn't a catastrophic day, but all of a sudden we adjusted from 100 to 75.
And is that a question, and this may be what we're figuring out, to be honest, is that a question about the microbes or about the physical digester? I mean, obviously we don't have the microbes in there right now, but like.
What matters, I think, is the microbes and
Okay.
would they still be happy?
No. I mean, well, I mean, so again, like the perennial analogy is how would you feel if you were cruising along in your toasty little environment and then had that dramatic of a change, right? So are we going to kill them? No, but what will likely happen is that we will just see a decline in gas production, or the bigger, like, are we going to lose hydrolysis rates, and are they going to be so unhappy that there's a shift in the hydrolysis and VFA production, and then pH starts getting, I mean, probably not, but so the critters are not going to be super happy with dramatic shifts in anything. Now that being said, I think Angela would say she has a backyard digester and it's like, it's just hanging out, and the weather changes and she doesn't bother, she feeds it intermittently and maybe the weather the temperature changes relatively dramatically in her backyard digester. But I think from an empirical standpoint, we want to maintain as control or consistency over whatever our empirical experimental parameters are. So we don't want dramatic shifts necessarily. Was that word salad?
No, I think that makes sense. That would be what I suspect we don't want to make shift. But I guess, Kimberly, what I'm wondering is if we can foresee that, hey, we're about to have a serious drop in temperature, would we have wanted to start the opposite of warming, like cooling down the microbes,
Yeah.
so that they're not having that all happen in a day? In fact,
Yeah, I think that's
we lower the temperature the week before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great, like a tapering plan. Yeah, for sure.
This also just points to thermal mass, right? It's all about non-dramatic changes. Changes are fine,
Yeah,
but
changes are fine.
You got to have enough time. So yeah, you can anticipate, but if you had more thermal mass, then you wouldn't have to tweak so much. It also points for me to something I haven't thought about at all, which is like, what's the logic here? Like, what's the control logic? What should be driving how this thing operates? You know, what's the, I don't know that control language, but it seems like the way you were operating it, if maybe I'm inferring here, was that you had a set point, a temperature set point, right? But that killed the battery. So maybe the set point really has to be the battery voltage, you know, and then let the vessels do what they will do in terms of temperature. So I don't know. Those are two things that come out to me: is more thermal mass would be nice, and what do you actually do for logic? And I guess, you know, if the logic that you're forced to do doesn't really work, then that points back to some sizing problems, maybe, of the ratio of things that you can't effectively control the system because something is too small or too big.
Well, I also have a question about, as the temperature drop, like just the physical capabilities of the system, like what are the thresholds for the system to maintain a temperature in the digester at a really cold temperature? So like, does the exterior temperature impact the efficacy of the battery and the heat transfer, just the physical mechanical efficiency of your heating system? And do we need to take that into consideration? Like I have a heat pump in my house, right? And if it gets like the 13 degrees outside, I cannot warm my house with that heat pump, and I have to turn on alternative sources of heating. So is it similar, like and I just don't know enough about the things that we're using to heat the digesters. Is their efficiency or their function correlated with the temperature outside at all?
Well, up until now, the drum blanket has been chugging along really stable. And what I was thinking was that what's most important, if we wanted to check out the benefits to other systems, we would want to take power. We would just start this at a lower point. And what that would mean is we have excess power that is very low to provide more heat to the ones inside the shed. Like this orange currently not all that impressive, but it should be getting more heat inside that shed, like essentially making the argument for optimizing across them all rather than a one perfect. And then if we added insulation, tightened shed, and all of that heat would be lost. That would be more BTUs getting to all of the drums.
Yeah, the solar panels like it cold. They do better the colder it is. Electronics probably more generally. Yeah, the power curve gets better as it gets colder. But batteries don't. Batteries lose capacity.
Yeah.
Do we feel like there's a sort of a separate, smaller bench scale question about microbes and I can't remember. It's not tapering, but like the
Acclimatizing.
yeah, like
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, that's in the literature.
oh, okay.
Sure, yeah. So we could do a quick lit evaluation for like, how long should we give bacteria to cool off, right? Before they freak out. That's that's definitely in digester literature.
Because yeah, I feel like we have the expertise in this consortium, and those are in fact some of the folks who we have the NATO time and budget for to answer those questions. So I don't know. I feel like this is good. We have the people who have the information, but we may not have yet put it together. Sean, you got your hand up?
Yeah.
Thank you. Again, since I'm not as smart as you guys, what is the ideal temperature that you're targeting to ensure the reaction continues throughout the colder temperatures? Like in
Those
an
are two different-
ideal,
Those are two
actually, like, let
different
me
questions.
rephrase.
Yeah.
In an ideal scenario, agnostic of the location, what is like the target temperature that the digester needs to be operating at, or range?
So what we, yeah, that's well, optimally, it's your body temperature, right? Because all this is your body. But what we're trying to do is drive that down so that we can, it is the sweet spot of, it is going to be a function of the energy balance. And like the optimal temperature of digester operation will be as low as possible to maximize energy output and reduce energy input needs. So that's why it's a hard question. That's what we're trying to figure out.
I see. Oh, this graph helps. Thank you.
We're trying to drive down into the psychrophilic temperatures so that we don't have to put too much energy in, and we can still get rates of methane generation and pathogen destruction and volatile solids reduction and all that stuff without having to put too much energy into it. So we will figure out what the optimal temperature is at the end of this project.
I see.
What we're trying to get to.
So I guess a follow-on question, would the type of microbe depends on also the feedstock that's going into it, because there's probably a lot of different combinations of microbes and feedstocks that would perform better.
I mean, certainly the ecology of the digester will change from digester to digester, even if it's all poop digesters or all food waste digesters. And so we're not inputting any, I think if we get to the point where we seed bacteria into these digesters, we'll seed them from a wastewater treatment plant, but the ecology of the digester will develop to match the feedstock that we're putting into it. So we're not going to tailor a microbe. We're going to let the microbes tailor themselves.
I see. So in theory, it would be good to have multiple physical digesters of the same feedstock in the event that one of them were to have a catastrophic die off of bacteria. Then you can just reseed it with one of the other digesters as well.
You could, or you could reseed it. You can always seed a digester with wastewater poop or with other digester poop, and then just let the bacteria acclimatize over whatever your SRT is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I got a cough.
I didn't mean to make you talk more.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for putting up these graphs, and Annie, this is great.
Yeah, this one I just stopped on was kind of getting at Margaret's question, where that's definitely one of the things we want to figure out, and bring this comment upon there's something in the literature. These are just some samples of what's in the literature. This one on the right, like particularly had gotten me thinking this summer, where they were for multi-day stretches switching the temperature, intentional, like controlled switching of temperature between time. And so you see the biogas production you just saw. Anyway, these are the types of things I would need to come back to and think on now that we have some of our own temperature data. And if we were to think about that too, I think we will try giving it a shot, modeling or thinking through. There is some other literature that I feel like conflicts this. So this is what I would like to. I bet this is just after my first read, and this is what I'm very excited. Oh, hey Nate, thanks for joining. This is where it would be interesting to get the whole group's take on how to interpret when we see the things happening in literature, which one is most representative to things of power. It's flashing this up. I'm going to go back to our pilot data for a minute. Jump in with any questions or things you want to see. So Nate, just FYI, we updated with, and then this was our first time we drained all the batteries to the heater on for this. So that's where we saw our first, what I call the power system failure, and to extend how much the batteries could support with lower temperature in response, so that we would stop draining these batteries and get through longer stretches of time with those.
These are beautiful graphs. Yeah, thanks for the update. I had to leave for another meeting, but here I am again.
Yay!
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my bit. And I think if you wanted to tack on 10 minutes to next meeting, Alex, I'll give you the next one, next meeting.
Let's do it. Sounds great. Yeah. I'll just show my hand that I love the idea that we might be able to operate these things more or less cycrophilically during the colder seasons, dipping down into like freezing and then just coming back up slowly into mesophilic, like a month-long transition between temperature ranges. And it was interesting to see that graph of humps there where there's overlap between cycrophilic and mesophilic, right? There's a little triangle at the bottom where, maybe it's the same microbes, or at least there's a community in there that does both, sort of, but at very suboptimal performance.
It's just rates. That's our hurdle is rates. It's not, I mean, I feel like even Tom Curtis's Svalbard microbes are still the hydrolysis rate is still slow. It's all still slow. And so I feel like regardless of the bacteria we have, our biggest thing is just going to be, time.
So if I can get it, that's maybe a good segue to this guy that I visited with and had the home digester. He's very, very good with biology, and he was mentioning some ways to operate cycrophilically or to prime or to inoculate digesters. And he was mentioning methanosarcina, which is a genus of bacterium that I guess could be very helpful. So these are things I'd like to revisit that. So I'll put the link for the bacterium in the chat. See if I can do that right now. I think I copy that already.
That makes me think of what Dr. Jaime Marti said after all the digesters that he's built is like they're really hard to kill. So if you can, like, I think he was talking about one where it was like a school, and he was like, yeah, the school's gone for the summer. And if you just wake it up slowly and begin feeding it slowly, then it'll come back to production. So not only is it a temperature thing, it's also like a substrate feeding thing. But I mean, he was really the one who's like, it's gonna freeze, just let it freeze, and then we'll thaw it. And he's had some of his different digesters out in like high altitude, like things in the Andes, and they'll freeze and then come back. And so maybe he can be our bug whisperer and help us kind of coax them back into functionality. And I'd love to see all the funding we need allow us to do this experiment next summer. And then maybe, you know, in 2027, maybe we'll be doing it with some fish bits, put some fish bits in there. Cause I mean, a lot of these communities are either really largely dependent on fishing or, you know, have some aspect of that in their diet. And it'd be great to see how we can incorporate that. I know, Sean, we've talked with you about that, but anyway, I mean, one thing at a time. Let's see if we could get this funding adequate for next year. But
Yeah, I guess. Sorry, Alex.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, learning that there's different microbes for temperature ranges, it almost makes it on Alaska an even better place in Alaska, because those lower end temperatures are kind of what they see on their low end. So, you know, initially we had thought we could maybe house this inside of a building so that it at least keeps some of the warmth, but you know, that might not even be necessary at this point if you know, there are those temperature ranges that still continue to produce methane. Another thing, kind of quasi development, still working through it, found out the city of Unalaska is looking at pyrolysis for their solid waste and using the biogas generated just for heat, mostly a waste management operation, but potentially that waste heat or that biogas that they're using to heat could be co-located with the anaerobic digester and include some co-digestion beyond just fish waste, some wastewater and any wet organic waste that is coming off of their landfill. So the city is on board. So I think once we get, you know, the NREL technical assistance composition analysis complete, we'll be sitting really well, assuming the funding is the same as it has been for a vehicle technologies office grant early next calendar year. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Sounds like a big project. Or, you know, putting two projects together like that. Co-location is always lovely if things are complementary, but it also can be really complicated.
Yeah, we want to at least make the anaerobic digester, in my opinion, able to operate independently of the pyrolysis, because, you know, they're both complicated in the sense that, I mean, pyrolysis arguably more complicated, but they have Geosyntec as their consultants on it. But I think it's going to have broader support across the state, because I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the sustainable aviation fuel push that the Alaska Department of Transportation is looking at. There's been a lot of industry pressure. This is how we got to the renewable diesel, and this is how we backwards got to anaerobic digestion with biogas as a feedstock. They're looking at using woody biomass. There's a lot of problems with that in that, you know, the wood is there. However, there is no infrastructure to harvest the wood, et cetera. So the economic consultants have suggested a pilot / demonstration scale project, which is, you know, the Unalaska side, you know, a lot smaller in the scale of production levels, but in my opinion, a little bit more technically feasible.
Yeah.
All right, anything more on this? And do we have time? I think we have time. What time is it here? 1:30. Do you want to hear 10 minutes of this other digester?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, and speaking of bug whisperer, this guy is definitely a bug whisperer. Sharing. Here we go. Share. I am sharing. Okay. This is how I got started with this guy building. This is like 150-foot long barrel type digester, 3 fiberglass sections for a small dairy, like 80 cows. On the right-hand side, that is an engine generator set, maybe whatever, 20 kW or something like that. The structure is called a clear span structure. These are pretty common in agriculture. They're often used for it's called bedded pack, a way of housing animals in winter on top of lots and lots of straw that just gets taller and taller, and then you clean it out in spring. So anyhow, this is a very common, cost-effective structure. So this digester, you can see the picture down here, and the whole thing is pressurized. So you see it has this like snout on one end. That was part of his whole, I don't know, whatever, plumbing, hydraulics genius, was getting this thing to be pressurized. So, typical 20-day retention time, heating coil, and then fancy fiberglass sprayed on the outside, 6 inches or a foot thick. So I'll just say the notes and then I'll show you a few pictures. So again, he's doing a pressurized system via peristaltic pump that pressurizes both the influent and the effluent. And there's a pressurized gas holder. So if you look at this picture on the right, down at the bottom right, you'll see some pink. That is, I think, ethylene glycol that is used to, the top tank is ethylene glycol. It's 2 plastic tanks. And somehow the ethylene glycol is helping to pressurize the system. And both of those plastic tanks have biogas in them. I'll show you another picture later. But overall, this thing is 2 tanks in series. So see the blue blanket? That's actually covering the digester vessel. There's a mover's blanket there and more mover's blankets. Those are being used as insulation. You see an orange dot at the end. That's actually the mixing handle. And there's that orange dot is the handle. And then there's that housing for the handle where you can stir the whole vessel. So there's 2 tanks, as I said. There's like a 1/3 size tank and a 2/3 is the rest. And he's split it into a hydrolysis tank separate from the main tank. And I think he might even vent the gas from the hydrolysis tank because it's mostly carbon dioxide. And then he does use the gas out of the second tank, which I think is a higher purity. I don't know what it is. He manually mixes this thing, and if you turn the crank one way, then it mixes it. And if you turn the crank the other way, this polyethylene thing sort of flips over and scrapes the side of the cylinder and gets everything mixed. He doesn't mix much, hasn't found that it really makes that much of a difference, but he does have to mix, and he does like that he can scrape that possible sludgy stuff. This is in a garage. It gets down to 40 degrees. He uses an aquarium tank heater to maintain temperatures. And, he says metering is kind of important. So I think in this picture, you can actually see the peristaltic pump. Let me try another picture. Nope. At the very bottom of this picture, you can see the effluent hose. There's one effluent hose. And then if you look to the left of that, I'm sorry, I didn't get it. There's a peristaltic pump, a homemade peristaltic pump. You see the red rollers, and those red rollers are cranked by a handle there, a round handle. So you crank on gravity. You put in the food waste at the top and there's 2 food waste holders there with a Y-shaped. You can see two converging pipes, and then the peristaltic pump at the bottom. So you load up the hoppers, and then you crank the peristaltic pump, and it goes into the tank. And again, I'm not sure I totally understand that, but here's the hoppers. And you can also see the sort of the vessel itself a little closer, and you can see those pink filled ethylene glycol filled tanks, or maybe it's propylene glycol, I'm not sure. Probably propylene glycol. And there are the tanks, and it's like what do they call those tie down straps? Like he's got a board on top of that bottom tank because it's pretty highly pressurized, and he doesn't want the plastic bowing out from the pressure. So there's a tie down strap, compression strap there, holding that board down onto that tank so it doesn't get overly crinkled from expanding. In this foreground, you see a biogas burner, that yellow thing there, that's a biogas burner. And so he's actually just took a regular propane burner and drilled the holes out bigger. I don't know whether it's a stainless propane burner or whatever, but he had some good ideas on using biogas. And I've been actually doing a little research to find biogas boilers, and I think they're available, but it's not that clear. So anyhow, that was just a home built boiler, and that's all I got.
There's definitely biogas boilers, Alex, but maybe not in the size that like the little guys. It's more for like, it's biogas capable. And
yeah, I mean,
chunky.
yeah, and it also depends, I guess. I'm trying to remember if he does anything to filter this gas. He might have a filter in here, like an iron sponge or something. But I mean, one of the things about a boiler is like, yeah, it's fine if your gas is dry and doesn't have a lot of hydrogen sulfide, but if it's wet and full of hydrogen sulfide, then, you know, you might need a really good one.
Well, your O&M costs are going to go up. It'll still be utilizable, but you're going to corrode things out pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I guess.
What's the propylene glycol for?
I don't understand how this hydraulics works. I really don't. Oh, but I think what you're looking at there is a sight tube. So you look at that vertical orange tube. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not sharing anymore. Here, I'll put it back up. I don't know exactly, but I just realized that.
Yeah, I'm used to seeing that used as a heat transfer thing in a heat loop.
Right.
Where I've seen that more, but I mean, yeah, it could be in some kind of.
But you can also feed it to your digester too, right? I mean, like
they'll eat it.
Yeah. They'll eat it. They love that crap. So
it's not for either of those. It's something to do with the hydraulics. It's not for feeding, and it's not for what was the other thing? I think, but anyhow, I was going to say, if you look, I don't know if you can see maybe I can draw on here. Can I draw on here?
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
That is a sight tube. So that's telling you the level of the ethylene glycol, I guess. Right? Doesn't that look like what that is? So anyhow, oh, and I wish I could zoom in enough to see this diagram.
Yeah, that's helping. Village
biogas. I don't know. Let's get this guy on and pick his brains. All right. I mean, he's super smart, done a lot of stuff with this, and he said he might be able to join us today, but obviously he didn't. So I'll just get him on the agenda for next time and nudge him to join us, and we can pepper him with questions then.
Wait, can you go back to that picture? It looks like it is going into the headspace, like you were saying. Like it looks like it's pressurizing the headspace. So maybe I don't get that, because that's just going to go in your digester.
Well, why would you want to pressurize it? That's not like, why do you want to pressurize it? The gas production within the digester itself should give you enough gas pressure to evacuate the gas. So what is the reason for pressurizing the digester?
Well, gas is normally, I think he's trying to think about the device you're going to use. You don't have to pressurize it in any other way, right? Once you pump the stuff in, the thing has pressure, and therefore you have gas pressure. Evacuating the digester, is that adequate for a biogas burner?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the home biogas system does, right? They don't compress or pressurize the gas out of those home biogas digesters.
Well,
So
then I don't know.
It really depends on the downstream use.
Right, I don't know.
Yeah,
And I'm
Jasmine's
sorry,
one just had the sandbags to like push the bag of it down. Will you put that photo back up? I swear it almost looks like he's feeding it to him. Sorry, you
I
showed it
was
to
going
the
to
wrong
say,
nerd.
mark your calendar for the second Wednesday of October.
All right, all
I'll
right.
put it back up just for fun.
Yeah.
Although I like seeing your face better, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, he's got the little the propylene glycol is on the right in the diagram. If you go up a little bit for the diagram, you can see the pink tanks are going into the upper part. Yeah, yeah. He's got one line and it's just like going, it's going into the, he's got thing.
Oh yeah, there doesn't it? Yeah, and I think like what I would love to think about this system from your perspective or any perspective. If this is going to be used by anybody, like it's got to have better usability, right? What church basements, because every church basement you go into with an actual kitchen has a dishwasher, and they're commercial dishwashers. And inevitably, there's some homemade sign on the commercial dishwasher that says, here's how you operate this dishwasher for, for the people that are borrowing the kitchen.
It almost looks like an overflow tank. So that if you back on the picture and then on the diagram, like the tube is feeding out of the bottom tank, but there's not liquid going all the way up to the top tank. And you did mention that the bottom tank is under a lot of pressure. So it would almost make sense that if there was too much pressure, it would be able to push the liquid up to the top tank. And maybe the glycol is sitting in the top tank for whatever other reason. No idea. But I think based on where the tubing was, it looks to be an overflow tank.
For an overflow for biogas?
Or
No,
like
of the digestate. Or whatever is in the bottom tank. Because he did say is under pressure.
Yeah.
And if the tube is at the bottom of the bottom tank and it runs up to the top tank, it would almost auto pressure regulate. Anyway, besides the point.
I'll get some more information from him, and we'll peg him. We'll try to get answers. What we should do is probably get some preliminary answers to these things, or that these are things that people were puzzling about. And I'll send some screenshots of you all going like this.
Is this guy in Vermont, you said, Alex?
Where else would there be such a crazy thing?
Yeah.
I did have a question of the person who presented last time with the dog poop digester. I didn't get her info, and that is who I wanted to connect Melanie with. And I don't know if Melanie, you can hear us. So speak up if you can. Sorry, Annie, go ahead.
Margaret put it in the chat.
Oh, you did? Awesome.
So Jasmine is the person.
Oh, I must have lost it. I rejoined from my computer, so I've lost all of the previous chats. So would you mind dropping it in the chat?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jasmine Perea. Yeah.
And I will get
Yeah. So Melanie, and to recap what I said earlier, reached out to AEA, and she currently owns a dog walking company and is looking to purchase a property to do dog boarding. So she wants to be able to do something with the dog poop. And I think it just happened to be great timing because I just sat in on that other presentation.
Hard-boiled eggs and cocoa for school kids on field trips.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Proof of concept. We got it.
Wow. Embray, you wish your kiddo went to that school.
I'm tempted to just put one in our backyard,
Yes.
to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think you could be an evangelist unless you have one in your backyard. Sorry.
Yeah, but should I build it myself? I think I should, I mean, like, I should probably just build it myself, shouldn't I?
Well, you don't have a last name that rhymes with methane, so I don't know. You're gonna have to make up a new last name. There used to be this guy, Al Rutan, the Methane Man. Anybody remember him? That was his shtick. So you need to be Embray something Thane, whatever.
Huh.
Okay.
Well, Embray, just let me know when you're doing that because I will definitely come over and help build a biogas rig with you. I I really like what you were showing us there, Alex. It's again like a big plug flow reactor. You
Yep.
know, often we see the kind of teapot design where it's more of it's not a continuously stirred tank reactor, but it's kind of that idea where it's gonna, and really it is kind of plug flow going through
It
those
is.
teapots. But yeah, that one's great. It's like an Dr. Jaime Marti's design is like a flexible, basically a sausage, right? Where we're taking this membrane and then they crimp it down at both ends. But that has this really nice design where he has the eccentric reducers at both sides. And I almost want to like steal that and have like this nice clean thing that you can clean and then have our weird flexible thing. But with I'm anyway, plug flow design, church basements, like that is a great reference project for something in the States. And yeah, I also maybe if there's active gas pressure, then it goes up into the gas reservoirs. And then if there isn't active gas pressure, the ethylene glycol is falling down in and somehow, but that seems like it'll just end up feeding the digester. I don't know how much that's gonna pressurize your thing. Anyway,
Yeah, I think the
interesting. Let's
question
learn
is
more.
why pressurize? Why pressurize, and how does it work? And I think he's going to want to know about usability. So let's tag that as well. Usability ideas. I want him to talk about methanosarcina. What the point of that is? I think it might have been for inoculating, but he was like, "Oh, this is such a great bacteria." And drew me a little picture. That's what it looks like. Okay.
Well, one of the things that they're doing on the NATO project is to do some microbial ecology genetics, right? Some
Nice.
metagenomics, because I think that what we'll find is we don't have to seed. We will just cultivate, we'll just give these existing populations of bacteria in this soup the right conditions to take over, and the right bacteria will take over given the right conditions.
I have a metagenomics paper, I think, about cow manure, but anyhow, I'll send you that paper.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a firm believer that if you just let the bacteria do their thing, they will figure it out. We don't, and I love the idea of going to Svalbard with a shotgun strapped on your back in case of a polar bear to root around in some anaerobic lake sediments. But at the same time, I also feel like they're there. We just have to give them the right environment to grow and do their thing.
Margaret, is that Robin or is that our other whose project was the Svalbard one?
Tom Curtis goes all over the world to these Arctic methanogenic sediments and harvests bacteria out of them.
I need him to give me inoculum for my digester up at the top of the world in Gorakshep, Nepal. That's where I would like to do that because could potentially make everything. The problem is with that you don't have to have effort to heat things, but then you have this really crummy reaction rate. Like the kinetics just don't yield a lot, right? So then you get away with less temp, but you need like a lot more time, or larger size is like the other drawback. But
I think he'd be happy to mail you some.
yeah, that's the other thing is like I think it gets dodgy when you're like,
Nate, I have it. Are you going to IWA?
No, I'm not. I want to though.
Go put in an abstract and just go to Glasgow. Because listen, oh, that's another thing. So Tom Kurt, and I've been remiss, Margaret, I know we had emails back in July and then the shit hit the fan. But we're trying to put in a workshop at IWA World Water Congress about this group and Tom, because Tom and Curtis, because Tom and Robin are our local Brits. They're helping with that. And so so you should just tack on to the workshop. Everybody just come to IWA and then Tom can sneak you some and you'll have no problem getting that back into the country.
Oh yeah. This is my protein shake. It's chocolate flavored. Well, so then from there, I'm just gonna be like keeping it in a bucket in my backyard until I can sneak it into Nepal through like Dubai or wherever. Super chill. Super chill. I mean, but to your
People
point,
are
actually,
still
I do
recording,
want to
guys.
try to go to IWA and actually do. I think we have that in the chat like a couple times ago. But yeah, anybody who's down to somehow come out to Glasgow, Scotland, we should. The bigger our showing, the better. Who knows? I'm gonna try and work that. That is exactly what I'd love to
Nate,
go
put
do.
in an abstract. Just put
I
it.
do think mailing is probably the better way, having gone through the mailing rules within the US. Obviously, between countries may be different, but we looked at it pretty thoroughly, and it's fine.
Annie, what's your question about separating hydrolysis and venting CO2?
I just think that it's just, when Alex was walking through that picture, you had said there are 2 tanks with the AD and some of the CO2 is vented for like at an intermediate step. And so I was just flagging that. Alex, you were going through a list of questions to bring in next time when we talk about him.
Yep.
Throw
Top-
it back up again, Alex.
What's that?
Throw it back up again.
There's nothing really to show, but I think the way it works, Annie, is that this cylindrical vessel has a baffle coming down from the top, about 1/3 of the way down the vessel, vertical plate, and that separates the 2 chambers with some mixing, I guess. So that plate must go down all the way almost to the bottom with some mixing of the digest state. But the baffle that goes all the way to the top then keeps the gas separate. So the reaction is pretty much separate, but the gas is definitely separate. Can you picture that?
Yeah, and I guess pros and cons of this is my question. I
Yeah,
haven't
let's talk
seen
about it.
that
Let's
most
find
of the
out.
small scale designs themselves.
But does that sound correct, people, that you get mostly CO2 out of a hydrolysis tank and then mostly or better higher purity methane out of the other tank if you separate them?
Yeah, I'm picturing more like of a septic tank thing where it'd have to be in the middle.
Yeah.
Because then you need the plug flow across. Otherwise, if it's down the length of your sausage tube, then it's not like a meandering thing. It's gonna go linearly. So, but yeah, you'd have your hydrolysis stuff up front. And
so we need to know what's the geometry, and is there 2 separate tanks, or maybe I just totally misunderstood, right?
I think it'd be a baffle about halfway, and I think I did see 2 different tubes going up in the front and the back on there, so that tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But
And the point is just to get a richer biogas.
Yeah, then the second tank, the main tank, would get richer biogas. I don't know what percent, 65% or something.
then you just need to go and vent the CO2 stuff to some kind of grow room where the plants absorb it.
Oh God.
And you can be
Hold on. I have a question though, because and Nate, help me out, because if you're hydrolyzing, you're producing CO2, but isn't that CO2 then used to make VFAs, which you need in subsequent methanogenic reactions? So why would you want to get rid of your acetogenic substrate? I need to think about that for a sec.
Yeah, this is a great question for him.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to like the slurry is still basically connected, but it's the baffle. So you're still having that. But I mean, yeah, Henry's law and everything, like what's in the gas phase is transferring and
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, get this guy on, Alex.
All right, we'll get him.
Tell them to build another replicant where it's not baffled and show us the comparative thing.
Nice,
We're
nice.
gonna
Of
optimize
course.
this.
Maybe it's pH control, but you don't need that in a manure digester. Manure digesters are really robustly alkaline, right?
This
They
is
have a
food.
lot
This is
of-
food waste. This is all
Oh.
kitchen scraps
Oh, then
with
that's what it is.
some manure inoculant. I think is
Then
what it is.
then that may be what it is. Then that, because with food waste digesters, you can have a runaway VFA pH problem, right? Where you get too acidic too quickly. That may
Okay.
be.
So
Anyway, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'll shut up.
I know that's a great question. These are all biological things, and I don't, I don't understand them exactly.
well, I may not be I am not the smartest person in this group, but I'm probably the person with the hardest ADHD and other neurodivergence. So I'm going to jump us back over to Glasgow, 2026, October 4 to 8. What do you all think about submitting an abstract about what is going on with the pilot? Because we won't have necessarily, like, hopefully, best case scenario, by that point, we'd be like, hey, here's what we did over the summer of 2026 with this pilot. But could we just submit an abstract up front, like we're hoping to have this, but here's what we've done so far, here's the concept of it, and just temperature data? Is that
That was going to be part of our workshop presentation, right? So, I mean, we're not trying to keep anything going on behind people's backs. I was just kind of tossing it over the fence, like, hey, do we want to do this? And then I dropped the ball because of some other stuff, but we have till November to pull this together. And so if we have a whole workshop where it's like, this is our group, this is what we're doing, this is the current status of the pilot, what we are planning on doing for NATO. And then Tom has some friends in Scotland to do their rural digester stuff. And then we've got, so it was kind of part and parcel of a whole, like, I don't remember, Margaret, how long the workshop is, like half day or something like that.
Something like half day, yeah.
Yeah. So like, we were just kind of toying with it and hadn't gotten a concrete agenda, but that was in the hopper as like something that we'd want to talk about for sure. That's what I'm saying. You guys just need to come.
Well, I'm fully down for a workshop. When you're talking about submitting an abstract, like I need something more or additional to submit on. I'll pour over
Do
that.
some Pacific, do one of your projects, Nate. It doesn't matter. Just like throw in a Corollo project abstract. IWA abstracts are not that hard. Like they're not that bad. Just toss in like did you put in a PNCWA abstract?
Not this year, but yeah, I have done it before. And actually the time that I talked to Tacoma when we met in 2023, that was a biogas thing. That was a biogas restart thing where they had a N+0 digester restart. And so maybe
it doesn't matter, Nate.
Dust
Just
that off.
throw some abstract in to go and then just come to the workshop too. It doesn't matter. Just throw it in.
So anyway, if you're still kicking around what is a half day workshop, should I be thinking about drafting a pilot specific write-up? Kind of based off the conversations we've already been having.
So if we look at so I don't even think that it needs to be that complicated. So if I look at the template for IWA workshop, which I'm doing for a couple of different projects, it's basically like, who is going to speak and what are you guys going to talk about? And so the workshop proposal for this conference is not as labor intensive. And so like, I think the first step would be we would get our shit together and put the agenda together and run it by everybody and see if that was okay with everybody. And then we would submit it to IWA. And then in November, like the deadline's November, so we still have time. And then like if we get accepted, which we may not even, well, then we'll start pulling stuff together. And the Congress is in October of next year. So no, you don't need to do it. You don't need to start pulling anything together, because the template again for this workshop proposal is not, it's you know, this is like, they don't actually demand initially that much from the proposer. They give you a lot of time, I think, because they want you to have the capability to organize the speakers, right? Because you got to get people on people's schedules, and you got to make sure people are willing to come, et cetera, et cetera. But really the write-up itself is not that beefy. So I would not ask you to do anything until we like knew that we were going, or that it was accepted, and knew that you were going and that we needed material.
Okay. Just to make sure I don't miss the boat here.
You are not going to, no. And again, I'm saying that we were not trying to like do this in secret or anything. It was really just a, hey guys, what do you guys think about putting in something for IWA? And then that was in July, and I'm just now getting back to it. So
Cool, I love it. And this is a good time for me as I close 1 year,
yeah,
do another, we're doing a lot of that, of, okay, I can start strategizing, get my own bolstering of support from
Yeah.
my
yeah.
place to
Oh.
plan that out and get to know it's on this one.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Totally.
Yeah, I nominate myself to be the cat herder for IWA. I feel like we already had a previous workshop template that we can revise. There's like a basis. I will harass Jasmine Perea because I love her to again anchor the thing and talk about 2-eye vision or 2-eye sight. I think the thing of like looking at things through scientific and then also understanding like cultural and ancestral understanding of native process, like natural processes, and how we need those two things to go together. Like that was great. And especially when it comes to user adoption of things, like that's definitely, I'd love to see Dr. Jaime Marti come as well and talk about his, so like there's so
Yeah.
many things that we could throw out there. And if it's really just putting together like, hey, here's like the concept of our workshop, here's the people who would come. And we don't even need to have like abstract content. I will look into
Yeah,
these
but
deadlines.
hang on one second, because I'm going back through my emails. Because I don't know if you guys remember the woman from Scotland who came and talked at the meeting, and she was talking about rural Scottish.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
The need for
because,
sanitation.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
lack
yeah.
of sanitation.
yeah. So Tom, when I said, hey guys, it's in Glasgow, why don't we put something together? Tom's like, we need to get her on it. Right. So let me start this email thread again, Nate. And,
Yeah. That sounds great.
and we'll because I think Tom's already like, he was all like, yeah, I'll talk to this person, this person, this person. And I don't know how far he's gotten. So I'll reprise this email thread.
Brilliant.
And then, because we don't have to do just this one, we can do like the Scottish perspective, right? And then we can do like, we could have like we could have rural digester development. I don't know. Well, let's talk, because we can have another whole, like,
You can have
we could have
the Greenland, the Danes in Greenland,
Yeah,
people in the Andes, people in Vermont,
we
people
don't
in
have to just
Alaska.
have it in this one workshop, right? So we can flood this whole conference with turd herders.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I feel like we're actually this is something we could be timely about. And also so far, I mean, initially our like bench scale studies and some of the initial funding that we got was all from the EPA, and so far and currently going forward it looks like NATO is really our principal funder here. This looks really good for that, and it'd be great to kind of show like, hey, you gave us some money, and like these are things that we're doing. And if we get to a point where we've got data from doing stuff at NREL and Fairbanks next summer, like all the better. Then it's like, hey, what we really need is to go further with this and then apply for more funding. So I think it is strategic and not just a great chance to go have pints in Scotland with you all, but also that. But really, I want to see this move forward and blossom and not just be the excellent nerd club it is. Let's go like get sanitation built in rural parts of the Arctic world. Anyhow.
Margaret, were you trying to say something? I'm sorry, did you say something or try to say something?
Oh, I just said love it. I was just being
okay.
supportive.
I'm sorry. That's one lip reading thing I should know, but I didn't.
Ah.
So so I'm going to put this just to capture the thoughts here. I want to get this. I'm not sure I understood that discussion. I don't think I need to, but what I do want to have on here is for the next time some discussion of what the World Water Congress, and then you also call it IW something or whatever. What do I call this for our agenda?
It's IWA's World Water Congress. It's the International Water Association World Water Congress 2026 workshop agenda.
Okay.
And I put a link in the chat if you want to.
Yeah, I saw that World Water Congress.
Okay.
So that's in what did you say? It's more than a year from now?
Yeah.
Okay.
They plan ahead.
I don't know what the hell's wrong.
I can't believe we're halfway through September, y'all. But
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
While you're there, I'll just put something in the chat, or maybe this is something that you guys over there. This is a small commercial food waste digester called MyGug. It's a guy in Ireland, and I thought that was kind of interesting too. I'll turn Guy Roberts onto that as well in mentioning what's out there. That second website there, HTTPS, that wasn't my security thing was flagging that as problematic, but maybe you can open that website.
Uh-oh. Okay. Oh yeah, no, he presented as well.
Who?
It's the cute little green eggs from Ireland. Yeah.
Yes. Who presented where? When?
No, at the workshop in Fairbanks.
Oh, he was there. Okay. See,
yeah,
I just missed out. I feel so out of it. Gosh, I'm just not part of that hip Fairbanks, Alaska thing.
It is the spot. It's not our center of mass, but hey, it worked out.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry, I got a lot of wheels turning in my head. No, this is happening. I remember we talked about it's like that would be cool, but now that we're talking about it more, like the workshop is very approachable, and Margaret or Embry, the worst I can say is no. I'll throw an abstract out there as well, just for myself to help
just for yourself, Nate, just to give yourself some cover from Corollo, because I don't know. I'm doing it on my own, but if that would help you get cover from Corollo to go.
I mean, they do allow me to have PTO, but it would be grand if some of that time I could be like working remotely while also doing that, and then have more time to go like sip whiskey in a castle or something like that, Scotland is one of the countries in the world where not only do the spirits of nature have property rights, like there's a national park that is owned by the Fae, but they have constitutional rights in that. And I know that Iceland and New Zealand, there are similar things going on.
Iceland for sure. They
Yeah.
rerouted like a whole, didn't they reroute a whole road to avoid a troll's home?
Yeah.
Love those people. They're civilized. The
Yeah.
Scots are, they're civilized people, those.
Well, I am holding my tongue on this recording, and I should get back to the other things I have to do. But it is so nourishing to hang out with you all, and yeah, looking forward to our next discussion.
Thanks. Thank you all.
Guys.
See you all next time.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Ciao.
Ciao.